Okay, so the last thing I want to do on this report is add a table of contents. I want this to be a dynamic table of contents that Word will automatically adjust for us. And if anything is added or subtracted from the report, Word will adjust accordingly. Back in the day before I knew how to actually use Word correctly, I would just make a page and start typing and then look up, okay, this is on page 2, this is on page 3, and hope I can get things lined up correctly and that the page numbers would be correct. So let me show you how easy it is to do this in Word. Plus you have Word dynamically adjust a table of contents as you add and subtract data. Let me show you this. So if you go into the Reference tab and you see here it has table of contents, let me click on the table of contents and show you. Because we set up our data correctly with heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3, this table of contents will look at each instance of a heading 1, and that'll be the most outmost table of contents. Think like a bullet point. It would be the most outmost bullet. Then every heading 2 will go indented 1, and a heading 3 will go indented again. So you could have up to 3 headings on a table of content. So table of contents 1 just says contents, table of contents 2 says table of contents, and here's a manual table of contents that lets you fill out in the document content. But I like to stick with the automatic table of contents. Now I like the words table of contents, just what I like. So I'm going to basically click on this. I'm in the very first page in the cover page. Click on the table of contents and watch how easy it is in Word to create one of these table of contents. Here's the cover page, and there's the table of contents. It's right after the cover page, right on page 1, and then it goes on to page 2. Our report starts right after the table of contents. You could always add a page break and change that, but let's take a look at this table of contents and see if it looks correct. Right off the bat, when I create a table of contents, you got to notice it always starts on page 1. And now, signing in to Concur for the first time, page 1. Well, the cover page is not considered a page, so the paging starts on page 2 because it's after the cover page. So this first page of the table of content is page 1. And if you go to the page numbering, it says page 1. So we know that this report does not start on page 1. So how do we fix that? Because the table of content is great that it's all nice and neat and easy and automatically put into the report, but if the page numbers are not correct, it's kind of useless. So in order to get the page numbering correct, there's a couple ways you could do that. If I go back to the Reference tab, right next to Table of Contents is something called Update Table. So I just want to update table. You could either do the page numbers only or the entire table. I think everything looks good in the table except the page numbers are off. So I'm going to do page numbers only and say OK. And you'll notice that now updates all of the page numbers. So initially you should always update the table. Another way you could do that is if you click on the table and then right click, you also have that update field here. So let's take a look at this table of contents and what exactly is happening here. You see these bold titles that are aligned all the way with the left hand side? Think of these like the first bullet point, right? These are the main bullet points and these are all heading 1. So if I click on, say, signing into Concur for the first time on page 2, signing into Concur, and I put my mouse here, I go back to the Home tab, that is a heading 1. If I go to, say, click verify my email, that's indented 1, and that is actually a heading 2. So click verify my email, heading 2. So everywhere you put a heading 1, you're going to have the most outmost level of the table of contents. Heading 2 gets indented 1, and you could have up to heading 3. So you could literally have 3 levels of headings in your report that'll show up on the table of contents. Think about it like a bullet point. Every time you hit the tab, you'd indent in the bullet point. So everything here is related to the verifying your email. So all of these items. Then if you get down here, these 2 main items here are related to this one, and then this is related to this. So this is a heading 3, heading 2, heading 1. So you could have 3 levels of headings in your table of contents. Now I said that this will automatically update, and you kind of saw that when we first started up the table of contents. Let's just add something, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's change the page numbering around. So say I don't want my report starting on the same page as the table of contents. So I can come right here, I can go to Insert, and I could insert a page break. So now that changed all my paging. And let's add something new. Let's just say signing into Concur for the first time. We'll just do to test our TOC. And now this is just a paragraph style. So let's go back into Home and make this a heading 2. You know, just have to be clicked in the paragraph and click heading 2. Now I should not only see my pages change, but I'll see a different element here. To test our TOC will be indented from this first heading in the table of contents. So let's see that happen. I'm going to click on the table, right click, and just go update field. Right now I want to update the entire table because I've added additional information. So I want to see that testing the table of contents subheading, or that heading 2, show up in this. So I'm going to say update the entire table, click OK. Now you see this was 2, but now it's page 3. And now this is added to our table of contents as another heading 2. So this is part of heading 1. Just like click verify my email is part of verifying my email. It's like one level in, and we can go up to 3 levels. So I'm going to get rid of that and update this again. So here, I'm going to just highlight this whole thing. I will delete it. And let's go back and update our table of contents. This time I'm going to go to the reference tab, update table, and it gets rid of that for us. So that's a nice looking report. If I go to view, I just want to look at one page on the screen so I could see that what's going to be printed out. So here we have our cover page, table of contents, and now we just start scrolling through the report. Granted, this report is just a user training manual, so it may not look as, professional as, say like a novel or something like that, but I just wanted to get across these screenshots to people so they could see exactly what to do. I'm trying to answer their questions ahead of time. So that's what this report's about. But I think ultimately it looks like a pretty solid report. And now we have a 28-page report. I did have a little graphic here. We have some links here to videos from their website. So all in all, I think, that's a pretty decent report to send to somebody. So, hey, I set you up with a new Concur account. Here's the training manual, and it gets them going. Okay, in our next project, we're going to look at the mail merge feature of Word. It's a super powerful feature. That'll be coming up next.